Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Agent Carter episode 1 and 2 video. So lots of awesome Marvel Easter eggs for the cinematic universe. So I'll try to explain how it fits in with the movies and the other TV shows. You should really think about this as being the Marvel Cinematic Universe on TV, not just another Marvel TV show. Kevin Feige himself was editing an episode recently, so they brought out all their big guns. They have the same budget as a normal TV show, but they're only doing 8 episodes, which means they can spend more than twice as much on each episode, which is one of the reasons why it looks so beautiful and they're able to do such crazy stuff. And I'll just say up front that yeah, they did say that they're planning on a season 2, so this isn't like a one-time thing. Okay, so let's get going. Careful for spoilers from the episode if you haven't seen them yet, starting with top 5 moments. Number 5, Avengers on screen. Craigie O'Reilly, isn't it awesome how many Captain America scenes they included in this? They just totally went for it. How many times have we seen an Avenger on screen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Not a whole lot. I mean, we got Colby Smulders and Nick Fury, but that's about it. I've heard some rumors that that's going to change because of the Avengers 2 tie-in that show's going to have, but Agent Carter got there first. Just explain how this show is connected to the MCU. So they're forming S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. S.H.I.E.L.D. was formed in 1946. The show takes place in 1946. The place that Peggy's working for, though, is still called the SSR. That gets folded into S.H.I.E.L.D. at a certain point, so I'm sure we'll see that happen on screen. All the nighttime missions, all that stuff, that's covert. That has nothing to do with her official business. She's trying to clear Stark's name. The SSR is out to get him, like they're just looking for evidence to convict him. Then you have all the Stark tech, so there's a lot of visual references in the props they use, like that ball, kind of glowing like the Tesseract. All the gadgets, everything else that Howard Stark is going to develop, as well as those other pieces of lost technology that were stolen from him. Then you have Anton Vanko, still apparently working with Howard Stark. I guess they haven't had their falling out yet that we learned about in Iron Man 2. In the comics, Anton actually is the one that becomes Crimson Dynamo. Like, he's the first Crimson Dynamo. So, small chance that we might see that on screen sometime during this show. If not now, then maybe during season 2. Like, that'd be awesome. Like, it'd be a prototype for the Iron Man suit, because remember, they developed the arc reactor together, he and Howard Stark. A lot of the characters we meet in the organizations that we see end up turning into, Hydra or other big organizations inside the Marvel universe. Roxxon's a good example. So in the comics right now, there's a different president CEO. Ray Wise's character, also another comic book person, but from the early Captain America comics. They said just in general, most of the stuff that they're pulling from is from the old Captain America comics, or the old comics in general, although primarily Captain America. The showrunner said, just in general, because of the time period they're dealing with, they're so far before all the stuff that's happening right now, they kind of have free reign in terms of the stuff that they do from the comics and the characters that they use. There have been rumors of a Peggy Carter appearance in the Ant-Man movie, but that hasn't been substantiated. I don't have any evidence on that, so at this point it's just speculation. But once we get through the 8 episodes and we see what they're building to, presumably that's going to explain what the big point of crossover is going to be. So on one level, you have a lot of the tie-in coming through this prequel of sorts, like the Gotham situation where it's a prequel to all the Batman villains that are coming. Then on another level, you have like literal crossover where technology or devices, formulas are going to be involved in future movies. There are a couple big Marvel characters that could connect to modern day that they haven't done yet, but if they bring them on, then it would be like a direct point of crossover that they could do. So there's Baron Blood, who gets involved in Doctor Strange stuff later on. You also have Human Torch, the original Human Torch. Remember, we saw his costume in the first Captain America movie. There's Black Panther and Wakanda, which is actually, much more important coming down the road. I mean, if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is seeding Inhumans, the movie, at this point, it's possible that Agent Carter could seed Black Panther via Wakanda. It's just that in the Captain America comics, he runs into Black Panther's father and grandfather. So it's possible we could see some Wakanda references. There's Baron Zemo, of course. It's just usually they say big characters like that, like he's a really big character, Masters of Evil and everything. They usually save those people for very, very special things. Baron von Strucker was an enemy of the Howling Commandos, like in the old Captain America comics, but because he's fairly young in current day, I don't know that they're necessarily going to go in that direction. Number 4, the Captain America Adventure Hour, sponsored by Roxxon. This was just pure fun. So like whenever I was a little kid, we would take family car trips and my parents would always listen to Garrison Keillor. So this actually kind of sounded like a Garrison Keillor type thing, Prairie Home Companion style. But how cool is it that Roxxon, arguably an evil organization in the Marvel Universe, is sponsoring these recaps? They're using it in a number of ways. So one, they're using it to recap the action at the beginning of episodes, like this is what you missed last time kind of thing. They're using it as a transitional thing between scenes where they're just like commenting on what's going on in Peggy's life. Who writes this rubbish? It's almost like this supernatural force that's just like commenting on what's going on in any given moment and also talks to the audience, talks to us. It's like the voice of God in the MCU. You probably remember the Adventure Hour from the first Captain America film when they went on tour and he was trying to sell war bonds. So it's just another fun thing that they pulled out of the movies. It's totally appropriate to the period. I thought it was really funny. As long as they don't use it too much, I think it'll be fun. Number 3, Ray Wise is the head of Roxxon, but Leviathan is the big bad. There were a couple characters in this that like the minute you saw them, you were like, yeah, this is not going to be a good person. Have you ever seen Ray Wise in something where he does not play a villain? Same thing with James Frain. So this is a really big Easter egg for the Marvel Universe. Roxxon, like the corporation, is directly responsible for the death of Howard Stark and his wife. So Tony Stark's parents were killed by Roxxon, but Roxxon isn't a person. Roxxon is just the name of the company. His name is Hugh Jones, and he first appeared in Captain America number 180. He got tied up in this big serpent crown storyline. It was a big part of the early Captain America comics and like Avengers crossovers. The funny thing too is that if you guys follow like the Marvel announcements, like they did their big Phase 3 announcement, they did this joke where they said, before they said that Captain America 3 was Civil War, they said it was going to be Serpent Society. That was like a big arc from the early Captain America comics. They actually, before they announced Winter Soldier, they did the exact same thing too. They said Captain America 2 is going to be Serpent Society. And it was just like a joke, like a fun joke for the fans. Just Marvel trolling just a little bit. I like that he said that their point of contention, his and Stark's point of contention, was his wife. Like Stark had sex with his wife, so he hates his guts. So I already said I'm not expecting him to be the big bad. I think he's going to be the person that they just float in front of our faces. He'll be like the obvious villain, just like too obvious. Like the real villain will turn out to be someone else. Look forward to classic misdirect. Wouldn't it be crazy if he pulled out like his own typewriter too, like someone else was giving him instructions? All work and no play make Marvel villains dull boys. Just to explain who Leviathan is, that's actually an evil organization from the comics, but they weren't around during that period in time, so they're changing a little bit of that. Leviathan grew out of the Soviet Union the same way that Hydra grew out of the Nazi Party. So it's like the Soviet Union version of Hydra. There was actually a certain point in the comics where Hydra and Leviathan worked together. It was like during the Secret Invasion period. Number 2, real life Jarvis. So James Darcy, can't say enough about him. He is going to be a lot of fun. I'm not really shipping these two characters, like I don't really get into that kind of stuff, but you could have some GIF fun with these two on Tumblr. Jarvis, as I've said in my other videos, is the inspiration for the AI Jarvis who becomes Vision eventually, or at least the voice of him becomes Vision. It's really unclear like what the path to Vision is going to be in Avengers Age of Ultron, but I mean, we'll find out. It's no coincidence that the voice of Jarvis also becomes the Vision. That's the Paul Bettany Jarvis though. Right now, while you're waiting for next week's episode to come, it'd be a good time to go back and watch the other Iron Man films and listen to Tony talk to Jarvis in his head. Jarvis, I gotta run before I can walk sometimes. Just like funny moments that you could also lay onto Agent Carter scenes with Jarvis. For those wondering though, this is 1946, Tony Stark wasn't born yet, so we're not gonna see like baby Robert Downey Jr. anytime soon on the show. This is still like a very young Howard Stark. And yes, I totally got a vibe from his penthouse as like a proto version of the Avengers Tower. Like Tony Stark's ultimate bachelor pad. And my number 1 moment, Peggy versus McPhee, cut against the Captain America flashbacks. So the reason I made this my number 1 is because Peggy Carter, obviously she had some great fight scenes, a lot of great action scenes just in general. This just cut against that Captain America Adventure Hour play was so much fun. Her fight felt like a good analog of the Captain America opening scene from Winter Soldier when he's on the boat and he just parkours the shit out of everyone. What made it really fun was the radio play, was like the dialogue from the radio play. It was like the woman screaming for help from a man, like, please come save me, Captain America. But in this scene, Peggy Carter is the Captain America character. Like she's fighting just as well as he did on that boat. Just to be clear, I mean, he took down like 50 people in less than 3 minutes. It was not like an equal amount of force. It was just meant to mirror that moment. As the title of the first movie implies, Captain America is the first Avenger, but Peggy Carter is also an Avenger too, in spirit. So I'm really looking forward to them building sort of like a proto-Avengers team. So let me know, what was your favorite moment? And do you think that Roxxon, that Ray Wise's character, is the big bad of the season, that he'll turn out to be connected to Leviathan? Or do you think he's completely unrelated? So just some stray observations, some things that I didn't already mention. So Agent Sousa, like her friend there, don't be surprised if he's the person that she ends up getting married to. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if it turned out that Captain America saved him during the war, then he came back, they end up working together, he eventually learns about what she's doing, they grow closer, start a family, so on and so forth, the rest is history. I also feel like she's going to win over Chad Michael Murray and her boss. Her boss, Roger Dooley, is another comic book character. Like, he was an early SHIELD agent in the old Captain America comics. I think at a certain point, the dudes will stop being assholes and they'll start helping her. Angie Martinelli, the diner waitress that we saw her more in the second episode. She's going to be working with Peggy Carter, like doing her secret extracurricular activity stuff. She's just way too sharp to be a normal person. And the really big thing, Anton Vanko still working with Stark. I feel like that's so awesome. I feel like we're going to see some cool tech, like some cool stuff happen. We might even get to see their falling out at a certain point, like in a future season. I've already mentioned the Crimson Dynamo stuff. They haven't really revealed what kind of Stark tech we're going to see. There's still at least 4 or 5 other Stark inventions that are on the black market. Overall, I gave both episodes solid A's. I would say, of all the TV shows that I've done in this current season, this has had the strongest start. I mean, Arrow had a really strong start too. Maybe it's kind of a tie between this and Arrow. I feel like they're benefiting from the fact that there's only 8 episodes. They're just able to inject that much more creativity just because they don't have to fill all that extra time. And they did say if they get a season 2, they're probably going to stick with 8 episodes. Like, they're not going to go to 13 or 22. It doesn't really affect their budget that much, which is kind of weird, I know. But small thing. So one of the showrunners, Tara Butters, is actually married to the showrunner of Arrow, Mark Guggenheim. They did this really cool interview where they kind of went back and forth and joked and asked each other really frank questions about running both shows and how they were different, how they were the same. Mark Guggenheim has written comics for both DC and Marvel and stuff, so he has a lot of experience with Marvel, even though primarily right now he's a DC man. Let me know what you guys think though. Do you like that they're only doing 8 episodes and just spending more money per episode, or would you like to see them do more? Just to talk about the actors, so there is a reason why there are so many big character actors in this, like Ray Wise, for instance, people like that. It just gives you an idea for how important people think this is. Hayley Atwell did an amazing job. Tara Butters and her partner, great showrunners. They wrote most of the episodes too. I mean, there are other writers. They actually have staff writers. I'll be really interested to see how they plotted the season out once we see all 8 episodes. The look is impeccable. The action is great. I feel like this has better action than most shows on television. Isn't it funny though? Don't you feel like this show is better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. already? They definitely are setting the bar. Like I said, Marvel Cinematic Universe on TV, not just another Marvel TV show. So it's like an 8-hour movie that just airs on TV. Just in terms of like characters from the comics, they'll have like a lot of Golden Age people show up on the show, like people's names, like they'll give them names from characters in the Golden Age of the comics. That doesn't necessarily mean they're doing exact plots. So they'll mix and match things, but it's meant to kind of tie in with the modern day stuff. So they'll just modify backstories just so that it fits a little bit better. They did say Marvel is allowing them to do superpowers on the show, but I don't think that they did. Like, they didn't say that, yes, we do have a superpower person on the show. It seems like they wouldn't give that away up front, though. I like that Marvel let them do that. Like, they said, okay, yeah, if you want superpowers, you can use superpowers. But as showrunners, it's up to them. Like, they were allowed to make that decision. So if you guys want, I will do a Q&A for this tomorrow. I can do a live Q&A on my Twitch channel. Why don't we say I'll stream starting around like 12 p.m. Pacific time, and I'll stay online for at least like an hour in case anybody wants to join the stream and ask me questions. They can be about anything too. They don't have to just be about Agent Carter. I do have a couple other videos that I need to get out though. Like I have a Game of Thrones video, I have a Sherlock Christmas special videos. Next week is episode 3. It's going to be on every night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I do believe that Hulu is carrying episodes. So if you wait like a week, you should be able to watch it online. International people, like if you're able to watch Hulu, like if you have a way to do that. Okay, so everybody get excited. Q&A coming soon. I got a couple other bonus videos I'm going to get through, like Sherlock, Game of Thrones, a couple other things. In the meantime, you can click here for the Ant-Man trailer again, in case you haven't seen it yet, and click here to learn all about the Daredevil TV show. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I will see you guys tomorrow.